Smart 24, driving business.
Yes, we'll be back from the break. You're still watching the Smart Men's Business. I'm Andrew Barigi, exactly 4 minutes past 9. And we are, of course, getting into much more discussions in relation to wildlife conservation. Of course, with the proceeding on the 3rd of March, with quite lots of activities that are going to be happening in between this time till then. Now, to discuss this matter this morning, I'm definitely joined with the Bismarck Mompaire Moses. Now, this one is a nature and travel journalist and the Executive Director, Africa Tourism and Environmental Initiative, and now still together with Dr. That is Theal Soke. Now, he is a conservation scientist and researcher at the same time. But of course, the theme for this time around is going to be in line with connecting people with the planet and exploring the digital innovations still in line with wildlife conservation in that station. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Rusoke. It's a pleasure to have you on Mr. Bismarck.
Pleasure.
To this.
Thank you for hosting us.
Very welcome. Now we're taking a look at the role of public awareness in terms of ensuring that the agenda of conservation reaches the people. Now, let's take a look at the digital because since we are looking at through the aspect of digital innovations, how are we using the digital space in creating this awareness to the intended person? But of course, considering in mind that about statistics reveal 2.7 billion people from the global perspective don't have access to internet. But this time around, Uganda, of course, has a portion within that 2.7 billion. How are we ensuring that this digitization is actually a success in achieving this agenda to the common person?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Maybe I can just go first.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the digital space is not widely used by most people.
Yeah.
But we cannot deny the fact that it is on a rise.
On the rise, absolutely. Absolutely.
It is rising, and we cannot take it for granted.
Yeah.
For that fact. So, based on that, I would like to assure people that and we're already seeing certain things like virtual reality in conservation. So people can actually travel. For some reason, they can travel and actually tour the conservation areas through a virtual
aspect.
Yeah. We are seeing the use of different apps. Why not have some kind of apps of that help conservation efforts? Yes, you cannot take it for granted. Other countries are doing it already. Yeah. And of course, when you see things like TikTok rising up, things like Facebook, Twitter, and the discussions on those spaces is mostly other subjects. We are saying, why not conservation? Because Uganda as a country is a wildlife destination by nature. Yes. Other aspects have not yet been explored to the fullest. Aspects like culture, history, heritage. They are there, but not to the fullest. We are a wildlife destination. So we are saying, why aren't we deliberate to take on these platforms to make sure that we are taking on this mantle? Yes, so I think the digital aspect is a very great vehicle to promoting wildlife conservation.
If we are to touch back a little bit, take a look at 3 years back, how has been the outreach? How has been the response? In other words, the feedback to the communication you've been passing out in line with environmental conservation, wildlife conservation?
Yes. Thank you so much for hosting us.
Welcome.
Well, you should understand that we are now living in what I can call the digital era. A lot of things are happening so fast, and in the conservation sector as well. Then maybe also to highlight now that we are in the month of wildlife conservation, we shall be having the World Wildlife Day actually taking place in Chienjojo, and it is good that you have called us to discuss on a theme which is in line also with the digital space. And we are saying we are connecting people and the planet, then exploring digital innovations for wildlife conservation. Like my colleague has already put it, Bismarck, you realize that there is now an increase in uptake of what we can call maybe digital services. We are moving away from maybe even the traditional methods for wildlife conservation, and we are moving into embracing the different digital gadgets which we are using either in protecting, managing, or even monitoring our wildlife populations. Now, I want to take an example of drones, the use of drones like in wildlife management, because we realize that when we're talking about public awareness of wildlife conservation, we have to bring to speed this local person in the rural area, in the picture, to understand if the trends are changing, what can they do? What are these trends? Like you said, maybe over the last 3 years, actually, let me take an example from the environmental education perspective. We didn't have Zoom.
Absolutely.
Now, Zoom has come in as a digital asset to help us to pass on the conservation message, to hold the conference, to educate people, and the uptake is going up. Issues of Google Meet and others, these were not so popular in the last 3 years. So all Ugandans are embracing the different technologies, like he said, the social media, the TVs, like we're hosting us here, and all those other available avenues to ensure that they understand what is happening in the conservation sector, and also to get involved. Maybe also to talk about some of the work which is being done by partners in the industry space. We are having like my Gorilla Family app. I can be seated here in the smart TV room, and I go on my Gorilla app and I'm able to virtually track gorillas in Windi or Mugahinga. So this is why we are saying there is need to continuously keep informing people about how they can get involved into conservation using the available digital services, because we are living in a digital era and things are moving so fast. Yes. So there is to answer your question, I can say there is now increased uptake, especially by the youth. The youth are coming up with different innovations, different tools, different techniques. They are developing apps for conservation, and this one also is both for wildlife conservation and also development of business in terms of tourism, because as you know, our wildlife in Uganda and generally in Africa, over 80% is based on wildlife, which is what we call wildlife-based tourism. So it is incumbent upon me, upon you, upon Bismarck and others to create awareness on the importance of conservation, by creating awareness among the public.
Interesting. Now, of course, I wanted us to also explore the aspect of cultural diversities, most especially if we are to look into the rural perspective, who are of the bigger picture here, that because these interact with the environment on a daily basis. How are we looking at ensuring that, because some of these gadgets, once this uptake comes in, it comes in majority it's in English. So how are we looking at zeroing it down to somebody in Guru who speaks the language that they speak, or even in other parts of Uganda, the language perspective, in the message delivered in that language? The conservation message.
Maybe I will say something and Doctor will take it on. Yes, that's a very important aspect. The aspect of culture.
The culture, exactly.
Of course, you cannot talk about public awareness without considering culture.
Exactly.
I'm very certain you know this, I've forgotten that Uganda word. I think they're called culture norms. Are they norms?
No. In Uganda.
Not a no.
Yes.
Zero.
Yes. Taboos.
Yeah, those taboos now zero. To make it, more understandable for the listeners. Zero. Someone says, nezira endiga, nezira enjovu, nezira, a bird, a certain bird. That is the culture that connects to conservation. Now, this is a cultural aspect that is not so promoted, yet it can actually be promoted and highlighted and promoted and promote conservation. Because anyone who says Nezira, if I respect, if my taboo is, for example, a tiger or a lion, it means you're going to respect it.
Absolutely.
You're not going to interfere with it. That way, anyone who is concerned with actually interfering with its peace, you'll be against that person. So some of these things need to be looked into. But also, the other idea about bringing the conservation knowledge into different languages is also something that is underway. It is not yet put into a lot of consideration, but it is very strong. Because people need to understand, need to read this message the best way they understand it, even when it's being relayed on media houses like Smart.
Exactly.
People need to know, okay, what is our audience? If we have some Uganda audience, we are speaking English. How many people know English? And versus the people who don't know English. That are actually staying near the conservation areas that may need to know this kind of knowledge. So the aspect of language needs to be diversified further, so that the message go deeper into the communities if we are to achieve the purpose that we need to achieve.
The purpose we need to achieve.
Yeah, but that is just a general perspective. I believe yes, Dr. Share.
Yeah, and maybe also to add on that, you realize that because we're talking about culture now, maybe we can look at it from the perspective of kingdoms.
Kingdoms, exactly.
Now, like here in Uganda, where we are, where we have the 52 clans, or what you call it, all these associate themselves with symbols which are related to wildlife.
Yes.
So now we realize that when it comes to the issue of culture and conservation, we also have to think about the indigenous technical knowledge. Like in Uganda, where we have what we call the Uganda land system pedagogy, whereby people are taught about environmental conservation in line with the clan which they belong to.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to taking now, like here in Uganda, of course, you know, most of us, even if we're not Uganda, we speak Luganda. And Luganda as a language has become so popular. So if you are targeting maybe people who are coming from Uganda, then you have maybe to, actually not even maybe, you have to package your message in Uganda, which is well understood by everyone. And maybe I can say, I can credit the Uganda Kingdom for working so hard to ensure that they are using their culture. But when you go back to where you come from, what we're also trying to do, we have like, can I call it like expos or sometimes meetings or gatherings, whereby we have like Mpango in Rutoro, whereby it is the coronation anniversary of the king. People gather to discuss issues of culture and conservation. But now the bottom line here is that we must have a package which is designed for each and particular group of people based on the language which they understand most. And how do we come in now as conservation scientists and researchers? Like where you work as wildlife clubs of Uganda, we are working with the different partners like to digitize our information both in English and also to get people who can help us to translate this information into the local language.
The local languages.
Yeah, so when you go like Toro, where we have several national parks, you realize that the information, some of the leaflets are written in Toro, conservation.
Yes.
When you go to Uganda, you'll find that some of the information about wildlife conservation is written in Uganda. When you go to other parts of the countries, like in the north, you'll find that at least at the district level, because what you should know as Uganda, we have structures. We have the local government, and even at the local government, we have someone who is in charge of wildlife management. We have a government officer, we have a natural resource officer, and we're having the environment officer, we're having the forest officer. So many methods to the public is that let us try to translate this information into the local languages. But also when you move, when there is a meeting about conservation of wildlife, conservation of the environment, always there will be a translator. Even if someone, the consultant maybe is speaking English, then there is someone who is translating for the local people in the language which they understand best. So it is our responsibility, and we are calling upon different partners, different stakeholders to come up and we translate this message so that it is understood by the local person in the language which they best understand. And in that way, of course, we shall create public awareness, we shall create an informed public who can easily be responsible in terms of their actions and also maybe reduce on the damage which they impose on wildlife resources.
Now, there is a challenge that because some of these activities happen in line with economic gain. People have reasons why they participate into this. For example, hunting down certain, for example, rhinos for their homes and so many more. Because I consider all that into a coexistence of wildlife, humans, and coexisting with that. So, with that, how are we ensuring that the message that we put out there carries a mindset change attribute towards convincing these people that they actually have to conserve the environment? Because that is also key. With people saying, "Oh, what are you telling us? You're telling us for me." Somebody says that my family is suffering here. People have had issues whereby they have lost most of their property, land evictions, and so many more. So they find that the only way for them to survive is to encroach on wildlife for economic gain. So how are we packaging it with a mindset attributes?
Yes, maybe I can go first, then you can.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Now, one, we realize that why are people killing animals for commercial gain? It is either poverty, people are poor, they are trying to look for what to feed their families on.
Yeah.
And so that they are able to sell maybe the wildlife products, game meat, and others, raise income, feed their families, or even kill these very animals and they feed their families. But also there is what we are calling illegal wildlife trade. And illegal wildlife trade, of course, now costs heavily the illegal wildlife trade when it comes to, when you look at the market, the statistics. Yeah, most of the illegal wildlife trade, the revenue is never captured. As a government, we are losing revenue. And of course, as we are losing revenue, this affects development.
Absolutely.
So now, what is happening in this case, what I think is the best way forward, if people are involved in this for commercial gains, let us find alternative sources of income. Yeah, alternative income streams. And as you also know, the government has also come up with some programs. Like, well, we may discuss this one so much, but at least the intervention of the government, like the parish development model. Then you have heard about yoga. You have heard about being encouraged to save money in support, so that they are able to have income to feed their families, and maybe also participate in productive agriculture, so that they don't kill our wildlife. But also, as conservationists, we are saying someone must attach value to a resource, and that is the role of public awareness. So we are conducting scientific studies to inform the public about the value of environmental conservation. Because, like, let us take a very simple example, and my colleague can chip in. Now, when you kill, say, for example, lions, for some commercial gains, like what happened previously in Queen Elizabeth, the killing of lions, then some other lions have been struck by lightning, by electric fencing somewhere in Queen Elizabeth. In this case, all of us we are aware about them. So what happens in this case? The lions will reduce. When the visitors come, they are not able to see
the lions.
So what is the message here? Let us educate the people who are poisoning the lions that the lion is important. When they protect it for these years, many tourists will come in, we shall generate income. We shall create employment, we shall have roads constructed, we shall have to set up businesses like lodges, because the lions are there in the ecosystem. But as long as the lions are killed, the visitors, when they come and don't see these lions, I think in tourism we call it the visitor satisfaction. When the visitor is not satisfied, there are chances that they will not refer other visitors to come to our country.
Exactly.
So the education has to be continuous. The public awareness has to be continuous to ensure that people protect and conserve our natural resources. Yes.
Mr. Bismarck, your uptake on illegal wildlife trades.
Illegal wildlife trade. Yeah. Okay. My senior has actually hinted on most of it and she nailed it. But what I can say about illegal wildlife trade, I think public awareness is very crucial in this. Yeah, it is. The people need to know that there are many challenges associated to illegal wildlife trade. Which are obvious, like, being detained. Of course, someone will say, I'll take the risk. If I make it, I make it. If I don't,
it's up to
yeah. People know. But the whole perspective is that public awareness needs to know. People need to know that the dangers associated with the
cutting down illegal wildlife
trade.
Yes,
in the sense that there are diseases associated to that. But also lack of information that there is sustainable alternatives, sustainable tourism, for example.
Yes.
Some years ago, it used to be a challenge whereby people say, no, don't, it was just enforcing, protecting wildlife without letting people know the benefits. But now it's coming out, like he said, it's coming out very properly that actually, once you protect the wildlife, there are both direct and indirect benefits. The potters, for example, if you go to Bwindi, we have potters who are locals, 100% locals, helping these people carry their luggage. People who are selling tomatoes, that is agriculture, agrotourism. Making sure the cultural people, the cultural dancers who come around, there's some income when these people come because they get a tip. Now, when these people come and it's a group of dancers, they go and tell other people. Now, it is happening in Bwindi. A lot of, some years back, those animals were poached, the gorillas. But now, because the public is now getting so informed about it, now the public are becoming ambassadors of conservation. They themselves are protecting this wildlife. Whenever they see someone doing something wrong, they'll be the first people to come and actually communicate with authorities that something is not right. But illegal wildlife trade is still very, it's a big challenge world over. There are many ways that are being put across to curb it down. And Uganda actually is world over known as a transit route, not a destination. People, I think, pass through a lot. But it's being curbed down, I think, Doctor knows. Yeah, but whatever can help is actually creating awareness in the public and also creating alternative means of economic gains, where people know that actually they cannot entirely survive on what is illegal. Yes, but it is a big challenge, and we have seen it, especially people need to know something about extinction. We talked about rhinos. The rhino horns are expensive.
Very.
That is for doubt. I think a rhino horn is 5 times more expensive than gold. You can imagine.
Very expensive.
So in that kind of situation, but also on the other hand, rhinos are endangered. They are getting extinct. So people need to know that, do you want the kids of your kids to see these rhinos in pictures?
Okay.
No rhino no thing, a live rhino at all. Because it's possible if we continue the trend. So when you tell the public about some of these things, and you don't only tell them, you come with alternative means. For example, Uganda Wildlife Authority has a percentage of money that goes back to the community to help the community, to empower the community in doing certain things. We have different NGOs, we have the Wildlife Clubs of Uganda that is creating awareness, the kids on a tender age in schools. So that when they grow up, they also become ambassadors. Now, sometime back we had dinosaurs. We see these things, and we don't need dinosaurs. We don't need to actually exist. We see them in pictures.
They're in myths.
It means that we are the most educated generation of our time, and we cannot take that for granted. We have to create as much awareness as much as we can. That's why when I was invited here, I was like, no, we need to have a researcher who knows some of the things to come around and also explain to us. For me, coming from a media background as a passionate journalist, I think we need to create more awareness, and all of us need to do a good job in this. And I hope by the time we finish this discussion, you also become an ambassador. And maybe even the station Smart to become an ambassador station, creating awareness, even when we make business.
Exactly.
Yes.
Very interesting. Now, of course, we're going to take a short break for now. I'll be with Bismarck, that is Amompaire Moses, is a nature and travel journalist and executive director, Africa and Environmental Initiatives. And of course, with the researcher, that is the Dr. Theal Musoke, and he's a conservation scientist and researcher at the same time. Let's take a quick break. Now, of course, we'll return as we proceed with this discussion.
Smart 24, driving business.
Rachel, Rich. The Queen Cobra, the password of the money, the original no spare parts, the 11th commandment, the question and the answer.
Sis, I know you want money, but I'm also broke.
Ah, no. Money is not an object. These days, Mama sorts me out anytime. In fact, my sister, let me also sort you out.
Really?
I've just sent you instructions on how to get a loan on Momo. I'm here for you. Can I borrow some chips?
When you need a loan, you've got MTN Momo. We're so tingy. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasan Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasan Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart 24, driving business.
Yes, we'll be back from the break. You're still watching the Smart Business, and of course, in line our message of today with wildlife conservation. And for that reason, like I told you, I'm with Mr. Bismarck Amompaire, the nature and travel journalist and ED, Tourism and Environment Initiatives, with the Dr. Theal, conservation scientist and researcher at the same time. But of course, as we proceed, we've seen the aspect of organized illegal wildlife trade, which has costed Uganda lots of money in terms of revenue earnings through taxation. And that is really seeming to be still happening in the underground cases. So how are we using this message to also tackle that down? The awareness program.
Yeah, thanks so much. So you realize that we are having, like you said, there's a body called IUCN, and that is the World Conservation Union, or the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Now it classifies animals according to their numbers, you can say in simple terms. So now, like some animals are threatened, some animals are endangered, some animals are rare, some animals actually have become extinct, and some animals are endangered. So now the animals which are endangered are the ones now which are threatened to extinction. And any illegal wildlife trade in these animals, it brings them to the brink of extinction. So now, okay, in Uganda, like say for example, when you look at the rhino horns, the African rhino horn per kilogram is $20,000.
20,000 US dollars.
That is about 79 million Ugandan shillings. But when you look at the Asian rhino horns, those cost up to $400,000
a kilogram.
Yes.
400,000 US
Yes.
dollars. It's a lot of money.
So now you realize that, okay, here in Uganda, where we have, sorry, not in Uganda, like now in Africa, generally in Africa, where we still have a good population of rhinos, South Africa. So this illegal trade, organized illegal trade, because why I'm calling it organized illegal trade, you realize that there is a person or the person we call the kingpin, who is at the pyramid or the top of the pyramid, on the apex, who is facilitating all this illegal wildlife crime. The local person at who is border in the protected area is being used by this
the kingpin.
by the kingpin to hunt down these animals and export these animals. Now, what is the message here? We are saying, as we are creating awareness, the different actors should come in. Whereas like Uganda Wildlife Authority can strengthen maybe operations at the airport to sniff out who is having illegal wildlife contraband or wildlife products. You realize that we still have a lot of forest borders. And let me put it this map. We realize that Uganda is being used as a transit route. So, and most of our wildlife products mainly go to Asian countries.
Okay.
So what needs to be done here is that we need to collaborate, still continue making awareness about the importance of these species, so that the local person is not used in this illegal wildlife activity. But however, for the local person, like we said, not to be used in this illegal activity, they have to be empowered in alternative.
Exactly, alternative livelihoods.
They are earning something for their family. And support their families and households. Otherwise, the issue of illegal wildlife crime continues, and we are losing a lot of revenue in illegal wildlife crime. And maybe, since let me be close to my country, but the good thing now with Uganda, all our rhinos are protected.
Yeah.
We have a good number in Kasongola, at the Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary, and we have about 2 rhinos in the zoo. But we realized that these were extinct and were brought back around 2001.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. Now, I also want to talk about the aspect of, since we are into the role of awareness in terms of spreading the message of wildlife conservation, how have we embraced music as a tool? Looking at the fact that a certain famous musician will be there as the vessel to spread this message. How far are we exploring the music as a vehicle for that?
Great. Yeah, I'll take on that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Conservation is a science.
Yes, yeah.
And few individuals in our country, if not the whole world, are scientists.
Oh, yeah.
Some people find science a bit complex. So we are saying, how can arts support the science? Music is an art. Just like journalism is an art.
An art.
Many ventures are actually artistic. Drama is an art. Music is an art. And that's why in this particular edition, we've come up with, as Africa Tourism and Environment Initiatives, we have different initiatives that we work on. And one of them is Plant a Tree, where we're saying every individual should own a tree.
A tree.
You name it, you take care of it, just like a pet. You remember its birthday, you can buy for it cake, manure.
Absolutely.
on its birthday. So that's Plant a Tree. Initiatives like a Cooler Tourism Awards. Yes, we have quite a number of those. Climate change awareness opportunities, but also majorly the newest here is the wildlife concert.
The wildlife concert.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the hashtag is music for conservation. Initially, we had Navagre, where we had a concert, and proceeds go back to conservation efforts. So we're saying, how can music help conservation? When this artist comes on stage, one, they bring on the different funds. When the different funds are gathered, then this artist, one of the KPIs, when we are engaging this artist, we tell them, look, we need you to become an ambassador of conservation. And we need you to relay your message midway the performance to the audience about conservation. So that's what happened with Navagre in the last edition. And after all the proceeds, we went and gave the chimpanzees at Ngamba Island a Christmas to remember.
Okay.
And these are simple things. We just took them gifts, They don't usually eat mangoes. We give them mangoes,
Bananas.
yeah, and some of them actually drink some soda once in a while.
Okay.
And they enjoy Christmas, and they always look for that, and we always do that time and again for our chimps. So our second edition of the wildlife concert we have in Eddie Kenzo in Chenjojo. But before that, we're going to go to Queen Elizabeth. We're going to make sure that Eddie Kenzo goes to the public, to the wildlife community, and make sure that Eddie Kenzo has a message to share with the community. Yes. If me or Dr. Tadeo goes and maybe say something, with all the information, it will be picked by 3 out of maybe 40 people who will be there.
Yeah.
But if they see Eddie Kenzo, they'll be attentive to know what is he talking about. I'm talking about Eddie Kenzo representing a musician. So musicians have a huge following, and I think they can command respect. So it's not about performances alone. The Wildlife Concert Initiative is about creating awareness through music and the musicians who are the artists doing the music. So we're going to go to Queen Elizabeth. We visit some of those nice places on the boat ride. We go to the community. We tell these communities, look, you can have alternative means. If you think elephants come to destroy your crops, how about you do some certain things, because there are initiatives already.
Exactly.
So you'll be telling you, like planting chili. If you plant chili around your garden and sometimes maybe burn it once in a while, elephants will go very far
away. Yeah.
And you have money out of there because chili is a cash crop.
Absolutely.
You can say we're going to have an apiary farm of sorts around our gardens, and these bees are going to chase out these elephants. And you thrive if you have a cassava garden, matoke garden. You will thrive. And you also get money from the honey that you're going to get, and you sell the honey to the safari lodges. You cannot sell this. You cannot sell this honey to the safari lodges if they are not tourists.
Absolutely.
And tourists cannot come if they are not elephants. So the sustainability of that. Now that message is what we've always talked about. Is what Dr. Tadeo has always talked about. But when Dr. Tadeo goes with an artist and the community, they are going to listen, and the message is going to go deeper. Then after, they will come and get to the performance, and they will enjoy the music, and he will tell them the message, and that's what we're saying. We're going to drive the hashtag of music for conservation.
Now, still on that line with the music, my worry is one thing, is that if that performance, like the crowd's focusing on the performance more than the actual agenda of the message, how are we ensuring that, if, for example, if we are to make short videos of TikTok to be shared, people won't just rely on, the music concert at the conservation was so amazing, I loved it, and nobody's talking about the conservation message. How are we ensuring that that is the core of that concert?
Thank you very much. We're already seeing that challenge, because we talk about a conservation, a wildlife concert, and most people actually think, Eddie Kenzo, exactly. Eddie Kenzo, and people are not concentrating on that. We're beginning. We appreciate the fact that these are baby steps, but we want to put a lot of effort in branding. Yes, when it's being branded, they know it's a wildlife concert, and we want to make sure that he also disrupts amidst the performance, as maybe his biggest song. He disrupts a bit, guys. Before I come to this, there's one message. It has to be emphasized. Guys, conservation, he talks, we just give him a message to share something in that. Now, amidst all those people live, we also have those small videos, we record them, and disseminate them around. And
the artist is also responsible for pushing those on his
on the KPI.
On the KPI, okay.
It is on the KPI. He has to push them so that the message goes further. Because the objective is to make sure that musicians become ambassadors of conservation.
Okay.
Yes. So it is not going to be a simple journey, without a doubt. But you're saying on the journey, we've begun. Let's see how deep the waters are.
Now, this is interesting. I will always say, you've made partnerships along the way as you make this a reality. I want to understand what have these partnerships added to this message reaching the intended people?
Yes, thank you so much. Maybe I can jump in first. Now, before we go into that, we talked about music for conservation. This is a very great initiative, and people tend to associate so much with the music and popular artists. So when the artists come on board, they are doing us a very good service. actually help us create public awareness, which we're talking about. Now, but however, before we go into the partnerships, I wanted to talk about the issue of addressing human-wildlife conflicts.
Okay.
Because you have been seeing in the media people are being killed by animals, especially elephant attacks in Hoima. People's children or babies have been snatched by chimpanzees. We realize that in Uganda we're having wildlife which is both inside and outside the area.
Yeah.
So we are trying to come up with interventions as researchers, and I came along with one of my books, which I think I will give you a copy after this meeting. And it is about buffer crop farming to mitigate crop damage.
Exactly.
Especially crop damage.
You can put it in the middle camera there.
Yeah. Yeah, buffer crop farming against wildlife animal damage in Uganda. And this is based on Kibale National Park. So now this book, like Bismarck has said, it contains some interventions. What can a farmer do when he's living near the protected area? About growing of chili. So here we specifically focused on those crops such as chili, the growing of tea, and other crops which are not damaged by wildlife.
Okay.
So it is important, and it also has some other interventions like fences. You talked about beehive fences. So it is incumbent upon us to keep creating awareness and also bring evidence-based research to create, to provide the actual policy options.
Okay.
For policy improvement and all that sort of thing. Then you talked also about the issue of tourism revenue sharing. So it's not like the country is not doing anything about it.
Tourism revenue sharing
shares about 20% of its revenue with communities who are bordering it, and this money is directed in different projects. And at the same time, communities who are even who are living with the protected area where there is sport hunting, like in Kaboya, they even share an extra revenue from sport hunting. And also those who are living with the national parks like Mugahinga and Windi, they even share $5 for every permit, corolla permit which is sold, and this money also goes to communities to support labor projects. Now, the partnerships, we as the Wildlife Clubs of Uganda, we are working with very many different partners like Uganda Wildlife Authority, Uganda Wildlife Education Center, and we leverage on the equipment which they have, like the Uganda Wildlife Authority and Uganda Wildlife Education Center. It has a mobile education unit which can catch the conservation and audio-visual message, even like 200 learners in one go. So it is a van, it is a truck which is fitted with a plasma screen, and these are used when we go for the World Wildlife Day. Will be there. So we're doing a lot of mobile education. Then we are working with the World Aid Africa to produce comic books and also to produce audio-visual. Yeah, we're producing comic books.
This is interesting.
And one of our most trending is the story of Beatrice Wildlife Adventure. A story of a little girl who refuses to eat game meat because she has been enlightened about the dangers which this may cause, especially eating wildlife meat. So all these are available. Then we reach out to schools, we create clubs. Then we entrust these clubs with patrons, and we have about 12,000 clubs across the country. And all these clubs do conservation education and public awareness. So we are working with many people. We shall soon be working with African Wildlife Foundation to train conservation champions. Train conservation champions. Then we are actually last week we signed an MOU with the International Wildlife Foundation USA and the Endangered Wildlife Trust, specifically to protect the great crowned cranes. And yesterday there was the crane festival in Mbarara. So we're trying to create awareness, protect this wetland. This is where we have the cranes. The cranes are our national park as a country. So we're doing a lot of partnerships, but in the interest of time, you can try to highlight those. So we are located at the Puma Showgrounds, and I work with the Wildlife Clubs of Uganda as the executive director. Now I'll hand it over to my colleague to add something about partnerships for conservation.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tadeo. Yeah, you mentioned most of it, but the word partnership is very key in this science of conservation. And as Africa Tourism and Environment Initiatives, we cannot succeed or operate without key partnerships. Of course, for a long time, we've partnered with Uganda Wildlife Authority, WWF. We partner with the National Forest Authority, yes, to make sure that we send the message further. But our biggest, maybe, that I can talk about, you see, we try to create solutions, especially around the tourism hotspots. that is something that we have actually started delving in Karamoja. We are calling an aspect of reformed cattle rustlers.
Reformed cattle rustlers.
Yes.
Yeah.
We made some basic needs assessment and realized that most of the cattle rustlers most of the youth who are recruited to get into the activity don't have a sustainable kind of an income. And hence their redundancy is taken advantage of. So we are saying, how can they become ambassadors of tourism? They become tour guides of their own culture, and then once they become ambassadors, they will know that they can thrive in tourism. But our message we are creating to them is that you cannot thrive in tourism if your destination doesn't have peace.
Absolutely.
So they become also ambassadors for peace. So they start involving discussions with other people who have not yet actually crossed to become reformed. So we have great partnerships, and in that line we're trying to partner with, of course, different NGOs, security agencies.
Security.
We try to partner with wildlife clubs of Uganda in schools. So our partnerships on that, we want to make sure that, because as Africa Tourism and Environment Initiatives, we believe that sustainable tourism can drive a change.
Sustainable tourism.
We have over 63 types of tourism, and most of them are not tapped. We only tap into wildlife, culture, and agro-tourism in Uganda, but only very minimal. So we are saying we need to actually motivate these other types of tourism to come up. So one of that is one of the things that we do is that we also partner with Uganda Wildlife Authority to have the reformed poachers, people who used to poach and now they are reformed. Yes, and they become ambassadors also to bring others to become behavior change ambassadors in that area. So yeah, quite a number of partners, but also in our initiative of Ekula Tourism Awards, we bring other partners on board, because every year we have like a best media house that has promoted sustainable tourism.
Okay.
Yes, best safari lodge, eco lodge.
The awards, and you recognize this to encourage them.
Exactly. Outstanding travel journalists, sustainable travel journalists. Those are partnerships. Even if it is like a hospitality industry, we dive in and we also get to the other people, even music. Song of the year, sustainable tourism song of the year. So that people start singing about these songs. So with our initiative of the Ekula Tourism Awards, which is one of the prominent initiatives that we have, we try to bring other partners through motivation, through recognition, and training, most of them, to become sustainable tourism soldiers and ambassadors in this country, Uganda, my home, the one that most people know as the Pearl of Africa.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that insight. And of course, we come to the end of today's discussion in line with conserving wildlife. And of course, the day is 2nd of March. 2nd March, right?
Yeah.
2nd March. 3rd March.
That is the Wildlife Day. Then the concert day before.
Yeah.
The concert is 2nd.
The concert is 2nd of March.
Saturday in Chenjojo.
Okay. And like we see that the theme is to connect the people with the planets through, of course, exploring the digital innovations in that line. And my guest this morning has been Bismarck Mompaire Moses. He is a leisure and travel journalist and executive director, Africa Tourism and Environment Initiative. And Dr. Theal Rusoke is a conservation activist, scientist, and researcher at the same time. But of course, above all, before we sign out of here, about, so you need to ensure that you conserve in every activity that you carry out. Well, be productive for the day. Till tomorrow. Good morning.